Good afternoon and welcome to the CVMSDC Lunch and Learn Power Hour with our guest, Mr. Thomas T.J. Lewis, Head of Supplier Diversity with Ally Financial. I'm your host and moderator, VK Fields with the PR Pros team. We have yet another informative and interactive session planned for you today, discussing financial services and business growth with Ally. As we spend more time online in these virtual sessions, we surely hope that you and your loved ones continue to be healthy and safe, and we thank you for joining us this afternoon. Just a few housekeeping tips. All of our audience participant lines are automatically muted. However, you can submit a question using the question box feature in the GoToWebinar dashboard on your screen. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be available for you to review later and share with your colleagues. You can view the recording from the CVMSDC website at cvmsdc.org/webinars. Now, I'm very pleased to introduce our CVMSDC President and CEO, Dominique Milton, to open up today's session. Good afternoon, Dominique.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much, Valerie, for getting us started. I'm so excited to bring to you today's Lunch and Learn series with TJ of Ally Financial. Before we get started with TJ's presentation, I want to give you an overview of CVMSDC so that you have a clear understanding of our mission and our work. We are a 48-year-old organization affiliated with NMSDC, and we have 23 regional councils across the United States. CVMSDC happens to cover North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. So the work that we do, our mission is to expand business opportunities for minority businesses and create mutually beneficial links between corporate partners and MBEs. The ultimate outcome is to add economic value to the supply chain while increasing economic opportunities in the business community. And as you can see on the slide, we are organized as such. We have CVMSDC in the middle, and then we have 6 rings by which our listeners can join that are regionally located in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. We have over 13,000 MBEs nationwide, and we have over 1,500 corporate partners, and Ally is one of our newest corporate members. And then we have community partners that we engage with. So what I like to say, just in a nutshell, is we help businesses grow. If you're a business owner and you are looking to grow your business, there is no need to do it alone. You need to join an advocacy group such as CVMSDC so that we can help. There are 4 pillars of the work that we do. I like to keep things very simple. So we certify. We're the largest certifying agency in the United States of ethnic minority MBEs. We set the industry standard for how individuals certify. And then once you're certified with us, really we hang our hat on the developmental piece. We provide developmental programs for our MBEs so that you are the best in class. And we provide scholarships for you to be able to attend University of Richmond, Dartmouth, the Tuck. We have a Sunoco leadership program. So we have several programs that are homegrown within our council that really help you look at your business, look at your strategic plan, and really plan for the future. So when you sign up with us, it might cost you $400 or $600 to become a member of the council, but we in turn give you scholarships to help you develop your business. So that's very important. And then connections, that's what we're all here for, right, TJ? We are here to learn how to connect. And today we're going to learn how to connect with Ally. So we bring to you 4 major events a year, plus webinars like this, where you can learn how to connect with our corporate partners. And then just by the sheer size of our business, with over 13,000 members nationwide, we can help advocate for you on a national, regional, and local level. So I just wanted, you can click all of that, VK. So I wanted to share with you that we have MBEs that span from under $1 million, from startup to in the billions. My favorite here is Janice Bryant Howard. She was the first African-American woman to build and own a billion-dollar company, and she's one of our MBE members. I almost said corporate because she's just that large, right? We have Jedit at the bottom of the screen. Jedit has grown tremendously during this COVID time, and he was just recognized in our most prestigious group of Corporate Plus MBEs. That's over $10 million. And then you have a team in there with Fire Solutions. So I share this slide to share with you the breadth of MBEs that we have, from under $1 million to in the billions, and we cover every product and service that you can imagine. If I can't find them in my footprint, I reach out nationwide and can bring those suppliers to our corporate partners. Next slide, please. So I will end with this before I get into introducing TJ. Supplier diversity is not a feel-good. Maybe it started back in '72 as a feel-good, but there's a true economic impact behind the work that we do. For every dollar that a company like Ally invests in their supply chain and hires an MBE, there's a $1.72 impact back into the economy. It's kind of like a trickle-down effect. So that $1.72 is represented in jobs, incomes, community development, products and services sold, taxes. So when he hires an MBE, that MBE is able to hire other MBEs and build up the community. And so that there's a strong economic impact behind the work that we do. And MBEs represent $1.26 trillion in sales each year. So with that, let's go to the next slide. With that, we're going to talk about how you do business with Ally. And I want to introduce to you TJ, who brings to us a wealth of experience in the financial industry. TJ Lewis Jr. has more than 20 years of experience in the financial service industry and is currently the head of supplier diversity at Ally Financial Incorporated. His responsibilities include creating and implementing a world-class supplier diversity program consistent with the company's strategic sourcing and diversity and inclusion initiatives at Ally. I'm excited because, like me, he brings MBE experience to the table. Prior to joining Ally, TJ was an executive at Urban Lending Solutions, leading the company's sales while they were recognized as one of the fastest growing private companies on the Inc. 500 list and reaching the Black Enterprise magazine's top 25 in revenue. Under TJ's leadership, the company went from 50 employees to more than 1,500 and experienced revenue growth from 35 million to 185 million. As a minority business enterprise, TJ started the company's own supplier diversity program, creating a best-in-class program which led to the certification of numerous women and minority-owned businesses through their developmental program. After the company sold in 2017, TJ returned to his commercial banking background, where he spent the last 2 years working with PNC Bank in the large corporate credit products group, overseeing more than 500 million in credit exposure to large corporate customers. Prior to PNC and ULS, TJ worked at Bank of America for 13 years, primarily in supply chain management, developing suppliers and commercial lending, serving nonprofit organizations and municipalities and middle market clients. So he understands firsthand how and why it's so important for MBEs to be engaged, and how from a corporate standpoint, he can help you. TJ earned his bachelor's degree in corporate communications from Queen's University of Charlotte, North Carolina, and has a wife, Charmaine, and 3 sons. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome TJ. And TJ, if you can go through your slides and then we'll come back for Q&A. Thank you for being here today, TJ.
Thank you, Dominique, and thank you everyone for joining today. And I wanted to speak a little bit about. I was just going to try to give you a little bit of a background on what Ally is doing, what we're doing from a supplier diversity perspective, and as a company perspective. But it's going to be really high level. Some of this information you're probably aware of, but I do, as we speak more and have a little bit more of the dialogue, I do want to give you a sense of kind of where we're going with the program and different ways to engage. So if we look at Ally, I came on board in Ally in January of 2020. So they had this kind of been in the works, and it was the right time for them to start up their supplier diversity program. But prior to me coming on board, there was a lot of great work that was happening at the company, just in other areas. We actually we launched a charitable foundation this year. That was like post to the supplier diversity efforts, but everything else on here, from the community reinvestment, corporate citizenship, the D&I group that we have, these are all, we look at this as our social impact team in areas. And so supplier diversity is one of those key areas that's become a main pillar for the company, and how we're looking at things from the environment. So I just like to show really how we fit into the greater puzzle from a corporate corporate perspective, and I'm happy that we're at the bottom, but it's alphabetical, so I don't feel like that's an issue. So we go into the next slide. We typically, when I go through this, I actually spend a little bit of time educating just internally our folks, our employees on what is supplier diversity. A lot of times you'll have within supply chain, they're familiar with it, but I really spent a lot of time going to different town halls internally within the company, to our business lines and different areas, so that they can understand, okay, what is supplier diversity? So the what and the who, and really basic levels. And I know at this level, everyone's aware of what that is, but it's a defined process of integrating diverse businesses into the execution of a corporate strategy. And the key is there has to be a strategy. So before that, I mean, we had supplier diversity prior to me joining, but it was just kind of happening. And so now there's a concerted strategy that's being involved in, and honestly, it leads to greater opportunities for you. And that's why we partner with, partners such as Dominique and various councils. If we go to the next slide, one of the things that I loved about Ally when I was looking to even take this job was the fact that I didn't really have to spend any time explaining the why we need to do it and the how, the why. I'd say the why. And that's because they get it. And when I went to that first slide that I showed you, it talked about all of the great work that was happening, corporate citizenship. I mean, the company and the culture at Ally is really just fertile soil, as I tell everyone. It's fertile soil for a supplier diversity program to grow and to be quite strong. And so really, really excited about that. I had direct conversation with the CEO, who quickly assembled his entire executive team, legal, everyone, and said, now's the right time. Is there a reason why we shouldn't be doing this? And since then has really engaged, and I can talk about that a little bit later, in ways that we can make some real improvements here. So, but overall, it aligns with our, the culture of Ally. We have a slogan, "Do it right." It aligns with that. Dominique touched upon the impact in the communities. We're aware of that. You're talking about the dollar spend, and it's $1.72 into the community, creating jobs for small businesses. So all of these things are, are near and dear to our heart, and it's just core to what Ally and what we do. So, we always like to point that out. That is a major, it's a major item here. But again, the good news is when I'm talking internally, I don't have to spend a lot of time on understanding why people get it. But I can tell you that's not the norm. It's not always the case with various corporations.
And that makes a big difference. That makes a big difference, TJ, when it's coming from the top down. It makes your life much easier.
That's right. I mean, I'll be honest, and that was one of the things even before I was coming on board that I made clear that was a non-starter as far as being able to put your footprint on, because otherwise you're always fighting an uphill battle, and to really get change, you need that support. So if you go to the next slide. One of the things, this is kind of an internal document, right? So what we were talking about from, we check how are we doing? And there's certain things that I just had to do. I had to build when I came in with us not having a program. And so we partnered with, organizations such as the CVMSDC, so Dominique and team, got it. And really, I'll share this, we really took a little bit more of a different approach. We dug in a little bit locally, intentionally, into certain areas, because we really feel like we have the room to really make an impact. And really, so what happened with COVID and things that are going on, it required everyone to make a change all of a sudden too, as well. And so, the partnerships that we establish and doing these events, this is how we're getting the word out. I really it's about relationships, and I'll touch upon that. When you're trying to sell to a big company, it's one thing to get into an RFP, but honestly, if you haven't had a chance to develop the relationship before the RFP, you're behind the 8 ball. So, one of the things that I'm always on is like, we've got to get in front of all of the opportunities. We've got to create enough runway for people to really take off and have a real shot at the opportunities. But it starts with, well before the opportunity's there, just us knowing good companies and what they're doing, and them understanding Ally and what we're doing, as they're thinking about their products and services. And so, we had to get the senior management visibility. I spoke upon that. That's me going to town halls, we didn't have any second tier program at all. So we'd always looked at just our direct spend and, you know, who do we spend our money with. And so we actually engaged with the company to do that, and that was a Connexus platform. So that's something that we implemented the first half of the year, so we could actually track second tier spend. So what does all that entail? So when you're, you know, many of you are aware, you know, you may not have the direct contract, and so it's coming through, you know, a prime supplier, and so on those opportunities. And so one of the ways how we hold our primes accountable is we actually have them report their spend and who they're working with, et cetera. And we need the tools to do that. So that's part of the thing I've been working on, getting the groundwork and that foundation built, that I'm happy that we've been able to do that as well. And with that, also we updated our language in our standard MSAs. So we do have supplier diversity language in those MSAs. So there's a lot of things that need to be done in the background so that we can build that partnership going forward.
And I might add, TJ, that, you know, Connexus is a minority-owned measurement company. So, you know, kudos to you for bringing them on board to help you with the tier 2 spend evaluation.
Thank you. Yep. That's absolutely right. And so when we, you know, one of the things that when I came on board was we developed strategically, again, this is some of us, you know, our secret sauce of what we're doing at Ally, but we developed some diversity champions internally to actually help us. And so what I actually have regular meetings. I meet every other week with these champions. They're all in the sourcing organizations, and they all cover anything that's going to be sourced at Ally. I have a champion in that area. And so what that allows me is direct access to all of the opportunities, allows me a way to filter any information from a supplier diversity perspective, 2 ways, you know, so they can provide some information, I can provide information. And we hold this regular cadence so that we can look at different opportunities, and you know, my goal is for them to get, you know, they can get involved in opportunities. Anytime we get, you know, events that are coming up, like I believe there's events coming up December 2nd and 3rd, is that right? You know, it's not just me that's available. I have champions who've been working with me the whole time that are also partnering. They're sourcing folks. They're actually ones you want to meet with. You know, they're in there doing, you know, the contract work. So we set up a structure that way internally so that it would allow for a broader reach with those champions. And, you know, that will continue to evolve, but it's really worked well. Been really pleased with the efforts that we've had there.
Speaking of the December 2nd and 3rd event, you'll have people there matchmaking to meet with MBEs and
yes,
and share what you have available. Excellent. Okay.
That's right. Exactly. And so, yeah, so I have already reached out to the team. They're ready to go for the
excellent.
On the next slide. So this gives you a breakdown. This kind of highlights everything that I've been talking about, but it's just, you know, put there. So when I started our legacy state, you know, there were a lot of things, a lot of gaps we didn't have from a standard program. And that's why I say it's a strategic initiative that you have to have when you're talking about supplier diversity. And so from our perspective, you know, we didn't have really a great way to verify who was diverse and who wasn't. And that Connexus tool is helping us do that. So we found better ways of doing that. We didn't have any consistent reporting for our senior management, you know, and so now we've implemented some reporting in that regard. Our supplier diversity language was not in our MSAs. Now that is required language, and anytime that language is altered, I'm directly involved with all of those contracts. And so, you know, it really speaks to the commitment of what we're trying to do. And those contracts hold not only the primes suppliers to the feet to the fire, but I'll speak a little bit about that. Even diverse companies, we ask them to report the money that they're spending with diverse companies. Now, we don't double count it, but it's very important that we list that, because what it does is it becomes just its standard part of business, right? Yes. Now we ask all suppliers the same question, like, who are you working with from, you know, with MBEs, and it's good practice. And so, like Dominique talked about, my days at ULS, we did that, so we would report out how much we've spent and set up programs that we felt it was important. And it's just standard operating procedure, which I just love that. And so, there's other things. We didn't have any memberships, with partnerships formalized like we have now with Dominique and others. And the second tier program didn't exist. So we've gotten into a current state where we have all of the foundations and the makings of a program. And we're not stopping there. We really want to move it into a whole nother stratosphere, as how we're aligned with rolling out new platforms and programs, and what I'm excited about is something that we're doing more. It was going to be more road shows, but now in this COVID environment, you kind of you tweak a little bit. But we're doing something that we're calling quarterly spotlights, where we're allowing suppliers to come in and present. And again, this speaks to present before the need. So we can get a group of suppliers. I have it on the calendar a quarter in advance, so I can invite sourcing, business line. They all know, they come in and they're able to see these presentations from these suppliers. May not have a need, but it sparks that dialogue. And then, because again, we need to build a pipeline for those companies to get on the radar. And with those spotlights, we'll have executives talking about Ally. So you get a little bit more insight, because another thing that's important is that you understand where we're going as a company, so to see how your services fit, where we're going. And so all of those things. So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's pause there, because this slide is very rich. We have a lot of corporations that are listening, and you have companies who are at ground zero starting a program. You have companies who are much more advanced. But I think this slide is a very nice summary and lays it out in a way in which all companies should really look at it. Where are you right now? Where do you need to go? And what steps you need to take to get there. And I really love this slide, because, as you said in the beginning, it's top down. And then, with COVID coming into being, I'm sure that there are different things that you had to do to pivot, since companies can't come in face to face. And so, we're doing all this virtual webinar stuff, and we have a VCB series where we're recording, like you said, we're recording our MBEs so they can put on film their capability, and you can see that without having to make a meeting with them. So talk to me about what you're doing to pivot during COVID, what you've done.
Yeah. Well, so this is a good time to point out one of the major things we're hosting a supplier diversity symposium that's going to be on January the 14th, and actually all of the notifications for that will go directly to Dominique and team next week, with all of the details of how everyone here can participate, and that symposium. It's going to be an annual event now. I know for a fact, but we're so excited because we're going to do a fireside chat with the CEO, myself, and the CEO. We're going to do a fireside chat speaking about the importance of diversity, and so he can share his, kind of his view on where we're going. Also, with that lunchtime panel, we have the Chief Procurement Officer and all of the senior directors, who are all my colleagues. They're going to each talk about the areas that they're covering from a sourcing perspective. So anyone that has a shot at Ally, one of those folks that's directly impactful. They're directly related to the services that you would be contracting for, and kind of talking about the strategy and supply chain from that perspective. We start off the day in the morning. It's going to be from 10 to 4:30, so it's a full day. But most of the activities start with a kickoff at 10 o'clock. And we're going to have our CFO of the company, Jen LeClaire, who fabulous woman CFO, and not many in her position for banks our size, I will say. But Jen's fabulous, and she's going to speak. She's going to deliver more of here's where Ally is. Here's kind of the history here. Here's where we were. Here's where we're going. And the purpose of that is to provide that insight of you can understand Ally. There's some, we're not the normal financial institution. We're a digital bank, no banking centers. And so we move a lot differently. And so when you look at COVID, right, we're kind of built for that. We weren't shutting down banking centers and and we don't have to worry about that. And so she'll give you a little bit more of the lay of the land as far as where we're going, strategic advantages. We're heavy in the auto industry, so if you're doing your research, you need to know like that's a big, a big focus for the company as well as others. And so she'll provide that insight. And then from 10:30 until noon, we'll have one-on-one sessions. And those one-on-one sessions, that's where we'll have the opportunity for some to get involved in that. But it's going to be the business line, the sourcing team, and the supplier.
Okay.
And there's going to be 30-minute sessions on those directly. And so to really have, to move further the conversations there. And so the lunchtime I talked about, that's the CEO panel and the chief procurement officer and myself. And after that, we're actually going to have another session. It's going to be an elevator pitch. So there's going to be, we're trying to broaden our reach because not everyone's, I'm going to be honest, not everyone's going to get this first go matchmaker. Okay. But we're going to have another opportunity for elevator pitch session where we're going to allow suppliers 1 minute to give their elevator pitch, and it's going to be the next one. And so it's going to be really short. We'll take all of the information down. We'll provide a little bit of feedback, but we're excited about that. And so these are things that we're doing to pivot, during these COVID times, and we'll have some more meetings in the afternoon sessions as well.
Excellent. Okay, we'll get the word out about that. That sounds like it's going to be extremely comprehensive. So very similar to the event that we're having on December 2nd and 3rd, and I'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, we'll definitely get the word out about your event.
Okay. Yep. And so just a couple other slides just to kind of wrap up the presentation. I know the next slide. This is a future state where we're going. To be recognized nationally for our program is a goal. I'm a strong believer is you need to write it out there wherever you want to be when you're setting your goals. It's very important that you write out where you're going, and we're looking at things like a universal scorecard. We're broadening the champions role as well, and the quarterly summit, that's already in play. So there'll be more information. If you don't get involved in the January 14th event, rest assured there's going to be more other opportunities. I think we have a date in April for the first quarterly summit that's going to happen. And there'll be others, 3 more throughout the 2021 as well as we move forward. And another thing that's, it's kind of on the radar is our corporate responsibility and sustainability initiative. And the goal is for that to run through our supplier diversity department as well, from a similar initiative. So I think that is that may be the last, just my contact information for the last slide, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of flavor of what the work that we've been doing over the past 11 months. And
that's great. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, definitely. We'll see if we have questions from the field shortly, but just right off the bat, how does an MBE get involved with doing business with Ally? What's the first step they need to take?
First step they need to take, well, one is I would say do your homework, and because one of the things, and I'll share this with you. We have you can go to ally.com, and there's a place for you to actually email and send information to Ally as far as your capability, which is fine. But I would say, it starts with, it's supplier diversity at ally.com, that email box. I directly monitor. Okay, so that, and my whole team actually directly monitors that. And so if there's capabilities or information that you'd like to share, I would recommend that going there. You can send me an email. I would recommend the supplier diversity email box. And the reason being is I have a team looking at that. If it goes into my email box,
I get it. I get it.
I'm just being real, right? So, but I do respond. It may take a bit more time, so.
But is there a portal that they need to register on, or is it just an email that they need to send?
So typically what we do is when we get the information, we will actually send you a link to register on a portal. So it's not, you don't just go in and register, and that's intentional. And I'll tell you that this is my personal experience. Okay, so being on the other end, one of the things I really did not enjoy, it was an MBE, was going to someone, they say, oh, just go sign here and log in and register into this portal, and it felt like a black hole. Okay.
It is a black hole. Yeah, a lot of times it's a black hole.
It is. It absolutely is. And so I wasn't, again, we're doing things differently. We want to, I didn't like that feeling. So I was like, I don't want the black hole, really. So the first thing you need to find someone like myself, or, and I try to put you in touch with a sourcing representative, find out who our teams are. That's why I'm opening things up, so you'll know who some of the players are, right?
Excellent.
So that you can find out, okay, oh, that's, I provide this service, so this is the person I need to try to get to, okay? And I can help, but so that's the way we like to do it. And then we actually send you a link, and it's part of the Connexus tool portal, and you get registered. And I recommend you putting all of the information in there. Into that portal. It'll ask you specific questions. And that's very important, because we are actually using, and I've been training the sourcing teams on, when we're looking at opportunities, we are absolutely looking, we will go through and do a search by NAICS code. So NAICS, or any other descriptors of what those companies do. And we're looking for diverse suppliers. So your capabilities and knowing that NAICS code is so, so important. Find out all of the ones that you
get, all the NAICS codes, not just one or two, but all that would qualify.
All of them. So be very, be very detailed as far as going through, well, oh yeah, we do this, we do that, we do that. So if you have 10 NAICS codes, so be it. Make sure they're all loaded into the system, because we actually run those searches that way. And so, that's really the best way to get involved in that.
Well, I love the fact that you have a proactive approach to the whole process, right? So you have your champions, and then you said that you're proactively having folks come in and make presentations before they're actually needed. How do I get on the list to be making a presentation before your team?
Yeah, so it really goes from that process when you're getting in. We start looking at, I have all of the sourcing teams looking 12 to 18 months out. Talking with our business lines. What do we have in the pipeline? And these sometimes, and so we'll judge if it's 18 months out. That's actually what I prefer. I start inviting vendors, and oftentimes, Dominique, what I'll do directly is they'll present to me. I spend a lot of time doing a one-on-one. Okay, that's fine. We'll set up the meeting. I'll set up the meeting one-on-one. Go through the presentation first, because and then I can provide you feedback. Give you a little bit more insight, like, yeah, okay, I know this, this may work here. You may want to talk more about so-and-so. And so, again, it's really a hands-on approach. I spend a lot of time in a lot of meetings as a result, but I love doing this, and there's a passion. I have a team, so if it's not me, there's someone else, and that's why we have diversity champions. We're setting up these meetings to do that. And then I will say, that's why I did put the quarterly spotlights on the calendar, because we do get, if you get a lot of requests there, you can't meet them all. I can't squeeze all the meetings in people's calendars. But what that does is that blocks off a chunk of time where I can say, we have 10 companies here. We're gonna allow them to do some presentations here, and I have a broad audience to get feedback, and again, to build a relationship. It's all relationship. It's all.
And that's the point we try and get across to the MBEs. It's, and I love how you framed it up. It is a relationship. We talk about relationship banking all the time. You want to have that same type of relationship with your bank that you do with your barber, your hairdresser, right? And you don't wait until you have that need to pick up the phone, to ask for the funding or to figure out how you can become a supplier. It's built over a period of time. So you have just the perfect formula to get this thing right. Having been an MBE and been on the corporate side, you understand both sides of parameters, what works and what doesn't work. And so really happy to hear this. How can we help you?
Yeah, so, the partnerships are key, and I like to, the best way for us, oftentimes I'll get things and it doesn't, it'll be, hey, things pop up. So we try to look out 12 months, we try to look 18 months, and then our business units are saying, hey, we need to do this tomorrow, those kind of things. And so what's key for us is just having the relationships like this so we can say, hey, Dominique, I go on a local level and say, hey, I've got search tools that works well.
Mhm.
But
Right.
there's nothing like being able to reach out and say, hey, Dominique, hey, Greg, we're looking for suppliers to do X, Y, Z. Can you help me? And what I would say is there are areas out there where we're not finding diverse suppliers. And what I would say is let's start to chart those, because we need to develop those areas. There's so many more opportunities. It's almost ironic. Sometimes you find we get a ton of suppliers in certain areas, but if you want to stand out, go find the solution in certain areas, and we can talk about those.
So talk to me about those. What are those areas? Name some areas.
In technology, in particular. We're a digital bank. If you're talking about developing apps or developing platforms, it gets a little bit, things start to, we have staffing firms that can do those things. They'll have staff for it, but the actual applications for it and developing those, that can be critical. We had a need that's out there now. We're looking at title. So typically, home title, but this is vehicle title, because we do a lot with the car industry. And so looking at companies that can manage the vehicle title process nationwide is, but even if it's not nationwide, what are the areas where we have those coverages? And quickly, we can do that. And so, there are, IT, I would say, is our biggest, it's the biggest area. And I say that I have a regular meeting with our IT team as a result of it, because we're engaged in, what can we do to develop certain more suppliers in this space.
So give me your top 3 areas. You've got IT. What other 2 areas would you say you're not finding MBEs in?
Yeah, so I said IT for us, it's the vehicle, the vehicle title, which there's some printing that goes along with that, printing and imaging as it relates to that process overall. We're actually looking, we have a provider that kind of does everything, and we're actually looking at possibly pulling pieces out of that, which I think there will be some suppliers that can do that. On
like a DocuScan, like your scan.
DocuScan, on a wide scale basis as well. We have the transportation for us. We actually move vehicles because we're big in the auto space. Typically, what I find in the transportation, where this is physically, moving vehicles, right? So you need not a trailer, but you have the vehicle trailers and things. But you cover certain territories. 500-mile radius, we'll take that. Let me understand a little bit more about what you're doing there. And again, that's different. Most people wouldn't think from a financial institution.
You're not thinking that.
They would need to do that. But we're kind of unique in that space. Preferably, again, there's no one that has a nationwide network, and even the providers we're using, they're usually subbing those out. And so oftentimes, if I can understand where we're doing it, I have opportunities to get you connected with our providers that are subbing it out, right? That's where our second tier program, so I can get business to you in an indirect basis as well. So, but there's a couple of others, and I know there are providers in the BPO space is big, the business process outsourcing space. Large scale, onshore, offshore, nearshore, and I would say nearshore capability. So we look at, if it's Jamaica or the Caribbean or something, somewhere nearby, those providers as well.
What about internally? What about training, corporate training, branding, marketing? Do you need those services?
Oh yeah. So we have, and this is the beauty. So I'm actually connected with all facets of the organization and spend time with that. So directly with the PR marketing firms. We have a head of multicultural marketing, Erica Hughes, who's wonderful. And we are looking at marketing opportunities for each groups. You know, we're starting to look at, okay, let's use the folks, you know, let's look at the firms that we can utilize in these certain spaces. So yeah, please reach out in that regard. I will get you connected with Erica and her team as we're moving forward. And all of the above. What were the others? You said marketing.
So like internal training, any of that going on?
Yes,
So
yes. Yeah, actually, yeah, we're starting on the training side. If you have the training platforms as well, so that's one of the things. You know, the modules themselves, the training. We are starting to at providers again. That's one I know that has a little bit of runway, but it's a big opportunity. So from a training perspective, so all the above. I mean, the beauty of this is that everything that you can think of, where, you know, there's an opportunity that's going to be coming in place. And since I've spent a lot of, you know, I've kind of used being new to my advantage, because I've been able to talk to all of the executives, and they're like, hey, how can we get involved? And, you know, what are the companies? And I'll tell you this, so, you know, we're looking for the best of the best. And, you know, so if you know, just be ready, you know what I mean? Like, because those opportunities come, and that's why I do a little bit of a one-on-one sometimes when we can, and we're getting that because, you know, these are, unfortunately, sometimes, you know, when you get those shots, you don't know when they come
happen right away. Well, I always tell people, think outside the box, right? You know, when you're growing up, you hear about a doctor, a lawyer, but you don't understand about all the jobs that are behind. When you peel back the onion, you know, what's behind a doctor? You know, I take a bottle of Coke and I look at that Coke and I say, okay, look at this Coke and see there's so many jobs behind this one bottle of Coca-Cola in terms of distribution, the labeling, the engineering, the chemists. And so the same thing applies to a company like Ally. You know, there's so many different facets of keeping this company together that our suppliers can support, and you just can't even imagine. I always love to tell the story of a sauce company that we were able to get into Lowe's, and I would have never thought to connect them because Lowe's sells grills, right? But you know, they work because it worked right next to the grill. So you've got to continuously reinvent yourself. You've got to continuously think about pivoting and figuring how you can service a client and bring that value to the table. TJ, can we start to end with one of your favorite supplier stories? Tell me a story of where you really saw some success and how you made a difference.
Yeah. So one of my favorite stories, I think it was probably the first week on the job, and you know, I've been in supplier diversity, around supplier diversity for a long time, and I had someone reach out to me and was like, hey, I heard you were an Ally now, and they reached out, and I said, yeah, and they have it's like, oh, let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing now, and a previous relationship. And so again, like first, second week, you know, I'm still trying to figure out where the bathrooms are, you know. And, you know, so I said, I'll take all your information and let's see. But they provided, and this was golly, think about it, this is before all the social unrest, so this is going back in January. But their solution and platform really gets into training for employees and how employees can actually develop and boost their own careers and manage that. So what was neat about it, so I connected with, just in my regular connections with our D&I chief officer, the diversity and inclusion chief officer, just regular connects. I connected them, and he was like, man, this is exactly what we need. You know, like we're actually looking for this for, you know, we're trying to solve a problem, and we have someone who's on staff, PhD, who's, you know, researching unconscious bias, okay, and all of those things, and how, you know, minorities in particular and women do not tend to, you know, they don't tend to they're not promoted as quickly as others in corporate America. Just that they they have the data, and all of that.
Right.
So it's really, targeting those solutions. And so, a long story short, we engaged, and I didn't know what to expect. I knew the person, I was dealing with, but from the solution perspective, I sat around, I looked, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And not fully, because all the times I would let people understand, we're dealing with so much. I'm not the specialist in any of it. So I kind of had the E&I team say, hey, look at this. Tell me what you think. It sounds, but I don't know. And they went through their presentation, and afterwards, our PhD who does that was like, that was one of the best presentations on the subject I've been wrestling with for a long time. Just blew the doors off. From the material, they were ready. They had all the information.
Right.
And so I was taken aback by the whole thing. Like, wow, that was really good. And so, but that's where we do this. I mean, if it wasn't for supplier diversity, there's no way they don't sniff that opportunity. We're looking for something. And so what I will say is, then lo and behold, after that, we were already in talking with them. You had the whole social going on, and all corporations were talking about what we were doing. And we already have a lot of things in place. But man, did it escalate the need for even what we were talking about. It was almost as if we had already had this going down that path. And so, but what I was going to say is, the important thing is, like, know your niche. As an MBE, the biggest thing we can do is you have to solve a problem.
Sure.
Help people understand what the problem is. Sometimes I may not even know I have a problem, right?
Right.
So you need to help me understand that I have a problem, and then how you're the solution to that problem. And when you can connect that point, I can get you places faster. Anyone can navigate quicker. If you're just kind of in, amongst the herd, it's going to be kind of hard. I can get you kind of going, but you're going to find yourself kind of stuck in the mud a little bit until you can kind of clean yourself up and stand out amongst others. But I will say that the number one thing, as I tell people, is like, hey, find that niche, do it well.
Find a niche.
And solve that problem. I mean, business is about problems. We spend money on problems, solving problems.
Right. Right. That's a good message. Find a way to solve a problem. VK, do we have any questions coming in from the field?
Yes, we do. We've had a number of questions come in, so I'll try to get them all in. One individual has a couple of questions, so I will combine them, the comment, and then the question is, TJ, we bank with a very large bank, and getting them to help with small business loans is close to impossible. How does your business differ, and specifically, are your services available for South Carolina?
Yes. Yes, I think they are. If we can, I would like to take their information and see if I can, get them aligned with appropriate people. But one of the things that we were able to do with our companies we were working with, and Ally deals with, we're big in the auto space, and I mentioned that, but we were able to, when the whole PPP loans were going on, and our customer base, we were able to get like 90-something% involved and engaged directly. And I've worked at large corporations, and some smaller, and there's pros and cons, but I will say that the relationship piece and these settings tend to work well for smaller to medium-sized businesses.
Great.
So the answer is yes. Yes. Okay. All right.
Thank you. And Dominique, I'd like to direct your attention to check the question pane for someone who would like to connect with Ally regarding offering IT services. TJ, the next question is, will Ally provide funding for all types of MBEs, meaning new MBEs or seasoned, and from all different types of industries?
Provide funding, are they saying?
Yes. Will Ally provide funding for all types of MBEs, meaning new MBEs or seasoned, and from all different types of industries?
Yeah, we have, we do that a little bit differently. So, not saying differently, but the supplier diversity program is not directly providing the funding in that regard, but I work closely with our CRA teams, and we actually we have companies and private equity firms in particular that are looking at those, looking at MBEs and where they can put money behind them, et cetera. And this is important because one of the things that I do, and I was speaking on the fact that when we're not able to find what we're looking for and some of those problems, we have private equity firms and resources where we're looking to put things together to solve that problem. Okay, and so the answer is yes. There, it's a little bit more complicated. I don't want to overly simplify it, but there is a way to get that access to the fund.
Thank you. The next question is, can you describe some of the areas of opportunities for MBEs with Ally where you've seen recent success?
Yeah. So I spoke on one, but others. So we're looking we're looking into the BPO process, as well as I'm gonna say this at the risk of knowing all the firms that are out here, but we're getting success in the fact of how we've looked at our professional IT staffing. Okay, I'm sure there's a gazillion firms out there that are doing this, but I will say that in particular, if you stand out and you have opportunities, we definitely have more. I would say probably more opportunities than most in that space. I'm going to be a little bit vague intentionally, but I say that because we're looking at different strategies to really make a big impact and really hone in on those providers that can help us solve these solutions.
And I would encourage the MBE to ask that question and make sure they sign up for matchmaking on December 2nd.
Yep.
And then the last question is regarding entry point with Ally. If they're sending a capability statement, should it go directly to you or that supplier diversity email that's on the screen, or should they wait and find out who you want to connect them to?
Yeah, I would say since you're on this call, go ahead and send it. Well, I would say definitely send it to the supplier diversity at Ally, but go ahead and send it to me as well. And put a note on here that you were a participant of the council. So again, it's things that just do to stand out. And when I know that you're, MBEs are engaged with the local councils and they're participating in events like that, it matters. It absolutely matters that you're taking the time out of your busy schedule to join in and learn about Ally for an hour. There's a little bit of a virtual connection there. So I'm opening that up to you because I try to be as approachable as possible. It's just, sometimes I'm delayed because there's so many things that are coming in there. So I welcome, that's why both are on there. But yeah, please send that. But if you're going to send it to me, personalize it.
Right, that's right. Talk about what we talked about today. And I will add to that. Go ahead, BK, I'm sorry.
I was just going to let you know that was the last question that had come in through the question box.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So since it's the last question, I'm going to start to close out here. We have an event coming up December 2nd and 3rd, which we've been talking about today, and it is called Reemerge. It's a combination of our Business Opportunity Conference and our MBE Summit. And for anyone listening today, if you are to text me at 843-751-3981, I will give you a coupon code for joining us today, so that you can join this event. The event will have over 11 workshops. We're going to have some international consultants. As you can see there, you have Dr. Albert Taylor, you have Anton Gunn, you have Quinn Conyers, and yours truly, who's hosting today, Valerie Fields, will be there to share with you how you can reemerge for 2021. If you are a certified MBE, you can select up to 8 matchmaking opportunities. We have also added construction matchmaking for this event. So if you can support a construction project, there are 8 additional sessions that you can sign up for. Registration is only $89. We've cut prices by about 70%. So for $89, you can get all this information and be prepared for 2021. And again, if you text me at 843-751-3981, I will send you a coupon code for this event. So Thomas, I want to end with your event. Could one more time give us information on the date of your event, and we will get that information out to our MBEs?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's January the 14th. It's a Thursday from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. And it's called the Ally Supplier Diversity Symposium. So more information, please be on the lookout. All of it will go to Dominique and team, and will be shared next week. More details on how you can RSVP for that event.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being a new corporate partner of RSTJ. To our listeners, to our corporate listeners, if you are interested in a Lunch and Learn series, please reach out to us at info@cvmsdc.org. We also have 2 other series in our webinar series. We have a Straight Talk with LaSonya Berry. You can sign up for that if you're a corporate partner. And we have our VCB series, as I mentioned earlier. It's a virtual capability briefing that allows our MBEs to capture on video their products and services, and they can have that live on their website or live on our website. So if you want to sign up for that, again, it's info@cvmsdc.org. Thank you so much for participating today, TJ. Thank you to our listeners for joining us. And I look forward to seeing each of you on December 2nd and 3rd at Reemerge. Thank you. That is a wrap.
Thank you.